One more time for the camera.
We'll call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting for October 2nd, 2025. Should we rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that we add agenda items 6C and 10A.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes from September 4th, 2025. Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries. We're up to a limited public comment portion. I do not see anyone. Moving on, we have the Sheriff Office Department report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Under Sheriff Jeff Cook here on behalf of Sheriff Tom Reich. In the month of September, I'll share with you some highlights of some of the activity that occurred. On September 3rd, one of our deputies observed a vehicle on Waverly Road near Jolly Road run the red light and hit a vehicle. The suspect vehicle fled the scene and then fled from the deputy when he attempted to stop it. The vehicle did pull over eventually, and the driver was arrested on several charges, including for operating while intoxicated. On September 5th, there was a large fight at the Waverly High School football game. One female that was fighting with another was secured, but then tried to bite one of our deputies. A male who was involved in the fight then punched one of our deputies in the face. Neither of our deputies were significantly injured. We are working with our school resource deputy and the school on this issue, the fights at the game, and charges are also being sought from the prosecutor's office. On September 6th, deputies responded to a domestic violence complaint where a male had assaulted a female in the parking lot of Meyer in Delta Township. When deputies arrived, the suspect was in the back of a vehicle and would not comply with the deputies' orders. The suspect then fought with the deputies when they attempted to arrest him. He was lodged in our jail for domestic assault and also on a charge of resisting and obstructing the deputies. Also on September 6th, one of our deputies stopped a vehicle for a traffic violation and discovered that the driver had a couple of outstanding arrest warrants. After he was arrested and secured, our deputies located a loaded handgun under the driver's seat. A records check revealed that it was stolen out of another county. The suspect was lodged for carrying a concealed weapon and possession of a stolen firearm. On September 13th, larceny of a scooter at Goodwill store. The night shift took a report from a victim whose scooter had been stolen. The victim then called us during the day and said he found someone selling his scooter online. Our detective bureau was able to arrange a meet to buy the scooter from the suspects. When the suspects arrived, surprise, they were arrested and the stolen scooter was recovered. The suspects were turned over to their parents and charges are being sought from the prosecutor's office. On September 14th, there was a complaint of a brandishing firearm on I-96 at Millet Highway. A male had brandished a firearm at occupants of another vehicle while on the expressway. The vehicle was located and stopped, and the firearm was located inside. The suspect was arrested and lodged in our jail. On September 15th, in the 7500 block of West Saginaw Highway, a male was waving a machete while threatening to kill his boss in the parking lot behind a business. Our deputies arrived and were able to arrest the suspect without further incident, and he was lodged in our jail and charges were sought. We had a larceny from auto and unlawful driving away from auto also on the 14th. Deputies were dispatched to a suspicious subject call in the area of Yellowwood. It's off of North Canal there. And about the same time, were also dispatched to a larceny from auto in the same location. Multiple suspects were described to have gotten into a silver Kia. Deputies found this silver Kia and attempted to stop it. Following a brief pursuit, the vehicle was stopped. During that stop, deputies recovered several stolen items in the car, along with keys taken from other cars so they could come and steal them later. Deputies checked the area and found several other cars that had been broken into. One of the recovered set of keys was from a vehicle reported stolen to us earlier in the week. The deputies arrested and lodged several juveniles at the youth facility for these crimes, with charges being sought through the prosecutor's office. On September 20th, deputies were dispatched to a reported man with a gun who was in the parking lot in front of the Zap Zone business in Delta Township. The information received was third hand, so we did not have much detail other than there was a man with a gun in that parking lot. The deputies arrived and were able to watch recorded surveillance video from the area and see the suspect. A short time later, the suspect returned to Zap Zone, where he was secured by the deputies and arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. Also on September 20th, deputies assisted the Michigan State Police when they were dispatched to a vehicle crash and one of the occupants had fled the scene on foot. They requested the assistance of our deputy, aerial drone operator, who was able to locate the suspect in a cornfield by using the drone. The deputy was unable to direct officers to this individual. This male was discovered to be incapacitated and needed urgent medical attention. Thanks to our drone operator, Deputy Lane's quick response in locating this person, she likely saved his life. On September 22nd, we responded to a OWI child endangerment call. A female had called the Delta Center school staff wanting to know how to pick up her child from the school. The school staff called 911 dispatch and said the female was slurring her words and sounded intoxicated. Deputies responded and located the female in her car in the school student pickup line of vehicles. Deputies made contact and observed this female operating the vehicle with her 12-year-old son in the back seat, so she was arrested for operating while under the influence and child endangerment. Real good heads up on the part of the school to call that in and partner with us on that. On September 27th, a 26-year-old female drove to the Zap Zone business with her children, with her 3 children. The female left a 6-month-old infant in the car seat sleeping while she took the other 2 children into Zap Zone. After approximately 2 hours later, a passerby heard crying and observed the baby in distress in the locked vehicle with the windows closed and called 911. The outside temperature at the time was about 80 degrees, and it was an estimated 120 degrees or more inside of the closed vehicle. The deputy responded, immediately broke a window to rescue the baby. EMS transported the infant to Sparrow Hospital. The doctors there said the baby suffered from heat exhaustion, which is more severe than heat exposure, and likely would have died had the child not been discovered by the passerby and removed by Deputy Studley from the vehicle. The suspect was arrested and lodged in our jail. And just a couple of numbers on some calls that take up quite a bit of our deputies' time, but our deputies were dispatched to over 60 retail frauds, thefts at businesses in the month of September. and over 40 domestic disputes. Just some numbers we thought you might like to have. Is there any questions I can answer about any of this?
Commissioner Haskell.
So for those 40 domestic disturbances, is that average, do you think normal? Is that normal or is that,
It's above average.
it's above average? Okay, thank you.
You know, it obviously varies from month to month, but it was noticed that there was a lot in September.
Question, Commissioner Peak.
Well, it's something that doesn't seem to be going down, let me put it that way. It seems to be on the rise. I'm sure Prosecutor Lloyd would tell you that his office is seeing a lot of it, and it continues. It doesn't seem to be going down over the years that much. It seems like recently it's increased.
Is Zap Zone like a high crime business? I know it comes up a lot.
It's a facility that gets a lot of use by youth.
And then with the Kias, I know when it comes to car theft, it seems like the Kia is the one that gets stolen, that comes up when it's mentioned. Was that the other vehicle? They said that these individuals had keys to other vehicles, with more Kias.
Yeah, they had more keys to other vehicles to go back and steal them later. Kias have been a problem. I believe that the manufacturer actually was issuing a recall because of the frequency of theft, difficulty, or the lack of difficulty in defeating those security measures. They're a model or manufacturer of vehicle that are stolen quite frequently.
Any other questions? See none, thank you. We're gonna address the mutual aid agreement, or is that something else? We just can read through that one.
Yes, we can. We do not have a copy of the mutual aid agreement or the major crimes task force agreement in the packet. We just learned about this last week. It has gone to legal counsel, who will review it and have it back to us before your board meeting. So really what you're approving is in policy, moving this to the full board. We have always had a mutual aid agreement with the agencies throughout the county, but it's old, from 2013. So the agencies thought it would be best to update the agreement. And then the major crimes task force, Under Sheriff Cook can explain it better, but essentially they do this now where they actually can send a detective who has a certain skill set, let's say, to go over to another entity to assist. So that's what it's about. Now, the one thing I want to mention, in full disclosure, is we do not have an out-county police presence, right? We have Delta Township. So I want to make it clear that this is not for a Delta Township assigned officer to leave and go work with another unit of government separate, from, unless they were to assign it, but it wouldn't be on regular Delta time, if that makes sense. We're trying to make sure that we don't cross the boundaries to disrupt the contract that we have in place. So the sheriff would assign somebody, and every agency would assign someone. Also, the prosecuting attorney would be a member of the task force, and he has agreed to that, to act as a liaison and to provide legal assistance to the task force, and to be on it. I'm rambling, Jeff, but to be on it, and the prosecuting attorney has reviewed it and talked to the agencies about it. But again, it has to go through legal counsel. But I want to be clear that the sheriff has the issue with not having an out-county presence, patrol. So overtime, he has a limited overtime budget as well. So if you want to take over answering any questions on that.
I can answer any questions that you might have.
So this is not for regular duty, it's only for mutual aid and where somebody needs more assistance?
Right, this is for a homicide, a kidnapping, a bank robbery, a very, very serious crime where there's a need to have some, that's beyond that agency's capabilities, so they want to pool resources, combine resources for a very specific purpose, not general patrol duties or anything like that.
Right, okay, yeah. Anybody else have a question? No more questions? We need a motion to move it on to
To the board.
to the full board. Does somebody make a motion?
Quick question then.
Oh, question, go
So
ahead.
we're asking to move it on without being able to see the agreement first?
Yes, because I did not have that.
Right.
So the legal issue, the concern that the county should have, let's remember, the sheriff has the powers for the whole county, even though we don't have an out-county presence. The sheriff is able to go anywhere. This is really assisting the other entities to go and assist another agency without liability of the sheriff. The sheriff wouldn't be liable if the city of Eaton Rapids entered into a non-city area, right? So it doesn't create any additional liability for us. The liability is on the responding agency in both cases, mutual aid and the major crimes.
That was something that Prosecutor Lloyd and Chief Assistant Chris Anderson both brought up at the chiefs meeting, that they recognized that the sheriff didn't possess that liability to go to their cities and assist. They were the ones that needed to have that agreement between each other more so than what the sheriff's office would need.
So again, it's under review by legal counsel. What I could have given you was not what our legal counsel had agreed to. I had a meeting with him, Ben and I did, just the other day on the phone. He stopped in today and we discussed it further, but there was no way we could put anything in the packet.
And just to follow up, are we under a time crunch to get this? Is that why we're moving it this month?
All of the agencies basically are prepared. I think there's maybe one final review.
One or two.
Yeah, so that they're doing. The hope originally was for this month, when they attend their chiefs meeting, was to have this all set so that they could actually initiate the agreement. So that's the reason. Now, if you want to wait and take it, that's totally up to this committee. That's fine. I mean, it really, is it going to kill anything under sheriff?
No, I know that council has had the Major Crimes Task Force agreement and he has looked at it, so I don't think he's going to be, I don't think he needs any more time.
He was going to review it.
Unless he's told you
Well,
something differently.
Today, he said he wanted to review it for one other liability issue.
Okay.
And then in coordination with mutual aid, because the major crimes addresses the mutual aid agreement.
It does.
Yeah. So if we want to wait until next month, we can do that.
I mean, I typically prefer to actually see the language first. I don't have any, I
I
think,
did
major
too.
reservations right now.
I'd like to make the motion to table it till next month.
I'll support it.
Motion and second to table this for next month's meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries next month. Next, letter C, we have a notary fee schedule amendment that needs to be passed on to the Ways and Means Committee.
Our clerks that deal with the firearm purchase permits and the other things in the clerk's office noticed that the fee for a notarization fee that's required for the firearms purchase permits was set at $2.50, and it had been set over 20 years ago at that rate. And they checked and they noticed that municipalities and counties around us have a higher fee than this. I have Ingham County charges $10 for their notary services for their firearms permits. The city of Grand Ledge charges $10 for their notary fee for that permit. And Berry County charges $5 for their fee. And so the recommendation that I received was to at least go to the $5 fee or up to the $10 fee, whatever you think is appropriate.
Commissioner Toomey.
Thank you. How much revenue, or how much revenue do we collect from that every year, the 250?
I don't know. I don't think it's, I don't have those numbers.
Okay.
I'm not certain how many times they've collected that. That wasn't provided to me.
Okay, I was just kind of wondering what the, if it's 250, I can't imagine we're collecting a lot to it, and if we double it, I just don't know how much that would be, what the money is used for.
It doesn't come to the sheriff's office. I believe it would comes to the general fund.
The sheriff's office, if you look under the line item, any of your fees show up under the sheriff's department
Okay.
general fund, but it does show up there. So it does go to the sheriff's office for operations for the clerks to process.
Okay, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. Thank you, Control. I'm sorry. I don't have those numbers as to how much was collected.
Okay.
I think that our clerk's concern is that they noticed that it was much different than the ones around us.
Right.
And so we're just want to bring it to your attention and see if you would like to address that.
Yeah, I'm not inherently opposed to it, but I guess I just probably like to have a little more information on what the impact is, and
Yeah, we have less and less people still doing that job. I mean, that's one of the issues is that we have less clerks than we used to have. And it is a service that's provided, and the other counties or other agencies, I don't know where they are with their staffing, but their fees are higher. So we definitely wanted to make you aware of that for this case.
thank you.
Commissioner DeRoche, you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff, what is the notary fee for?
It's a firearms purchase permit, and they actually, there's a document that they have to sign, and there's also a records check that is done on that person. I don't have all the details of that, but I just know that that document has to be notarized when they're making that application for the license to purchase.
Okay, so that would be for any firearms purchase, not just handgun, but any kind of transaction concerning a firearm.
Any of the firearms purchases that they're required to have a license for, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And if I may, I was posed this question here a few weeks ago, and I did not have the answer, and I thought, you're the perfect guy to answer this. Now that we do not have Out County Road Patrol, what is the jurisdiction for Eaton County? And the question came from, do cities have jurisdiction to go outside the city limits and perform the duties of a county sheriff deputy? Or do we now rely solely on state police for that?
Unless someone is deputized by Sheriff Wright specifically to perform law enforcement duties in the county, no. That is correct.
Okay, so the state police, because they are state, they can cross any boundary without a problem,
Correct, sir.
but city cannot.
Correct.
Okay, so
Hence, they're renewing the mutual aid agreement that we talked about for emergent needs, but not general needs. No, sir.
all right, thank you.
Back to the notary point, is that more than just stamping the notary on there? I think maybe you mentioned, looking at a background, or is that's part of it?
There's a background check that's performed, but the person is signing a document when they're doing a license, which requires it to be notarized. And that's a common fee. A notary fee is a common fee that's charged by municipalities and counties. And our clerks noticed that our fee had been the same for I believe 20 years or more. And that the other fees, like at Grand Ledge and at Ingham County and at Berry County, were higher for that exact same thing.
Yes, my thought was time consumed doing this, how long of time? It sounds like more than $2.50 worth of salary, so.
I think that's perhaps why the clerks brought that to our attention.
Thank you. I'd make a motion, we raise it to $5.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor? Aye.
I had one question before we make a motion.
The motion's on the floor, you can discuss, yeah.
All right, I have one question because we made the motion. Because we made the motion, what would it be, taking into inflation, what would the fee be? All right,
Couple hundred, I don't know.
all I know is that no one told, I was told there'd be no math, and that's clearly not true.
Maybe under sheriff, do you know what span of time does it take to do a background? I'm not that familiar with how long that might be on the record and whatever.
I couldn't tell you the average amount of time that it takes them to
Okay.
process this.
Okay,
I only was made aware of the discrepancy, or what they felt was a discrepancy in
yeah.
what we're charging the fee to do the same thing that is done at the other, for instance, at Ingham County, or at Berry County, or at Grand Ledge. Those are the three examples that were obtained. There are a lot of firearms purchased in every county. It can take up quite a bit of time to process things. I don't have a minute, I don't have an average period. But see, I could tell you in one case, for instance, when a background check was done, our clerk came to me with some questions, and it ended up taking more than a day to get the answers from the court and from another jurisdiction. So a notary, how long does it take to notarize something? Not long at all. Okay, how long does it take to do a background investigation? That's kind of a different question. Sometimes it can take more time than we'd like.
that was my former question, how much more than just putting the notary on there? So, yeah, that's.
What's involved? Yes, there can be some time involved, yes.
Gotcha.
To answer Commissioner Arndt's question, so 250 based on 2005 is the starting year. If it was an earlier schedule, but this is just off the cuff, would be $4.15. So chances are if the schedule was 25 years, we're probably right in line with a $5 adjustment.
Any more? Commissioner Toomey?
I guess just one more quick question for my clarity. The notary fee is also the background check fee, or are those two separate? Is there a separate fee for that, or? Okay.
It's, to get a license to purchase a pistol, they have to fill out a form, an application to do that. The records clerk has to run a background check to see if they're eligible to have it. But when they sign that license to purchase, that signature has to be notarized. So it's part, you don't walk out without either. You have to have the background check and pass it, and you have to have the form notarized. Jerry can tell you because she enters the forms in the computer. Am I missing anything there? Okay.
No, thank you. So it's all encompassing of the process. I will say I'm probably going to vote no today just because I'd like more information on the exact amounts and everything, but I'm not offended by it either way. So thank you.
I was able to run a report as quick as it was. Last year, $2.50 brought in $20.
Oh, well, all right.
So
Well, apparently
based on what,
apparently it wasn't being consistently charged.
that's possible, right? So the one thing.
I think that's very, very much,
That's how it's coded in the system. So like I said, I'm running a quick report. That's it.
Okay.
And so it could be coded as something different, but I'm giving you what shows up. Any $2.50 expense
there's
is
been
what
quite
shows
a,
up.
there has been some turnover over the last few years, as you know.
Well, but
clerk's
what I'll say is that they had 4 clerks. They're now down to 2. We just went through massive budget cuts. The thing that the public said and the board said is find ways to make sure that you're covering costs and, you have additional revenue. So you have 2 clerks sitting there now going, wow, we have to do this, and why is it only $2.50? So that's how the result is for doing it. So we could have made 40
Right, and I guess that's my thing though, is people are like, let's find ways to get revenue, and I'm like, is this $2, if this $20 is not really gonna make a dent in the,
Will it make a dent? No, but does it make sense to increase fees rather than keeping them at a lower cost? Because obviously, everything goes up. Every ounce of our expenses go up, so computer, technology, to do everything that they're doing.
And I think the clerks will likely be more diligent in applying the fees as they should have.
that would also be good.
And the employees get their notaries through the county, which they pay a fee to the state, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? We have motion on the floor. All in favor? Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Next, we will have Central Dispatch report with Kelly.
Good afternoon, Director Flynn from Eaton County Central Dispatch. As you can see, we had a lot of training. So during the summer months, training kind of goes down. A lot of our training providers that have the state 911 approved training doesn't put it on because there's a lot of vacations. So we're back in school means we're back in training and making sure our people have a wide variety of different things to attend to make them better dispatchers. One of the ones that I want to point out is the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. So our new telecommunicator, Dan Lalone, attended that virtually. That is something that is mandated for emergency medical dispatch. So that's being able to prioritize an EMS call, give life-saving instructions, helping deliver a baby if need be, CPR, all that stuff. So he attended that virtually, and we are all certified in that, and you have to have 24 hours continuing credits just in that area. And you have to take a lovely test that is so much fun, and everyone enjoys it every 24 months. So, other things, our communications unit was deployed for the Frontier Days 5K parade. It is a very lengthy parade, and we worked out of our communications unit that was actually just inside the downtown Charlotte Fire Department. And then we didn't deploy the communications unit, but we did cover it from dispatch, is the Grand Ledge Homecoming Parade. And for example, we also have the Charlotte Homecoming Parade, and you may think that those are short and we don't really need to do a whole bunch for it, but it is important. And I love the way our county is coming together and making sure that they have a comms plan, a communications plan for a parade, an event, big, small. It just keeps us all on the same page, and we don't want them on a different talk group and something bad happen and we're not listening and we can't send them help, and there's interoperability is important. Those are all things that I think in the past were kind of taken for granted, and in today's world, I'd rather be safe than sorry and make sure that we're listening and sending them help and we're all able to communicate. So in the past, we never used to do communication plans, and they are all on top of it, asking us for a comms plan for big events, little events, so it makes my heart happy. And you met them last month, but Telecommunicator Ferry and Telecommunicator Croft joined our team on September 2nd. And then also a new thing, so with the limited amount of resources, especially in the out county with law enforcement, the Eaton County Chief of Police meetings that are on, I think it's every other month or every month, they're now inviting me. They're also inviting the courts, and it's great. They're bringing everyone to the table, and the out county mutual aid agreement, in the past, I wouldn't know about that unless I sat in this meeting. So I'm glad that they're bringing 911 to the table and letting us be a part of the process, ask questions, and also I'm not surprised when they say, hey, did you follow this mutual aid agreement? I'm like, what mutual aid agreement? So limited amount of resources, but they're bringing lots of people to the table and making sure we're all in the know and kind of working on this all together. So, and then the last thing I want to bring up is, I'm not gonna go in depth of talking about it today, but for the past year, I have been working with the Sheriff's Department and legal on the Eaton County no preference towing policy and procedure. So long history of issues with wreckers on both sides of the fence. Whether it be the response time for the wrecker to show up to get the deputy going to the next call or the police officer, charges for service and how they're inconsistent. But then also the fairness of being able to utilize all the Eaton County wrecker companies and that we're not using just one type thing. This policy is gonna be sent to you early next week by Claudine. It is 11 pages long. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. It will be in your email and it still has some work to do. We would have to set some fee structures for that so that if someone is requesting a wrecker in Eaton County, that the fees are consistent and we're not sending a wrecker company that's gonna overcharge anyone or kind of, their car is in storage and has a large bill after that. So there is still work that needs to be done, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention so that you can look for that. It is 11 pages and I will go more in depth on that next month and it will be on the agenda. Any questions?
I appreciate the work that you've done on that, and I will let you know that we have discussed this with legal counsel. It's important that we do this, given legal issues that can occur. So it's really a good thing that Kelly was on this. So I appreciate it.
We decided that it's best to come from central dispatch. That way, we're not telling Charlotte Police Department, Eaton Rapids Police Department, the other agencies on how they have to choose their wreckers. However, this no preference policy will be available, and if they ask for a no preference, that is what we will follow. And this does not take away that if you are in a car accident and you say, I want this wrecker service, it doesn't take that right away. Like, you're allowed to request who you want to tow your car. This is more for the people that, hey, just send me send me the next person that's available type thing. And it makes it fair. And we also have some other systems like Curbside SOS. That's how we request the wreckers, that if there's any discrepancy in where they were put back on the list, they call them and they can tell them exactly what the system did. So it's kind of nice on that end. But this dispatch is always kind of in the middle. I don't tow cars personally, and so my people aren't out there towing cars, and I have I don't have any interest in any of this, right? And I kind of always get put in the middle. So this allows us to provide an option that is approved by legal and that could be fair to everyone.
Is part of your consideration beyond cars, say trucks or semis, and we'd have to know what the vehicle is to know which
Yes.
wrecker service is able to handle that call?
Yep, it's 11 pages for your reading enjoyment.
I was just wondering if it
Next
was in
week, I
there.
would, carve out some time for that.
And maybe also, I don't know how many are now on rollback, so it doesn't matter if it's all-wheel drive that would necessitate all four wheels off the ground. That's another consideration. Okay, thank you, Kelly. It's probably in there.
Oh, it
Page
is.
11.
It is.
Commissioner Haskell, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for taking that on. I remember years past when we first talked about that SOS kind of program, and I kind of thought this whole preferential treatment kind of thing was solved with that case until just this summer when I had, some business owners come up to me at the Eaton County Fair and saying like, hey, when are you guys going to tackle this? So it's nice to know that you guys kind of took care of it, or at least in the process
We're
of it.
working on
I mean,
it.
it's,
It hasn't been an easy process.
and I especially just want to say thank you because it's not, I don't feel like it's something that you guys should have to do, but you are doing. So thank you.
You're welcome. And just so you know the process right now, in the past, we used to do no preference records, and there was a few requirements, but it would be in our CAD system. It would pop up the next person. But the problem is if the police officer cancels it before they get there, it's supposed to go to the top of the list. If the record company calls and cancels it, it's supposed to go to the bottom list because you lost your turn. But then, I mean, I wasn't the director back then, but I've heard horror stories that were fielding all these phone calls about where they're supposed to be at on the list and how a dispatcher put them back at the bottom and they shouldn't, and, you know, it just caused a lot of issues. So they moved to, we don't tell you who to choose, you tell us. So like you can tell them all their options out on the road and you just tell us who you want to send. So we kind of like got out of the middle of it, but we're still in the middle of it. I would prefer not to be in the middle of it at all, but I also think it's what's best for our county and the citizens, so.
Any more questions for Kelly? Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Next, we will have the Emergency Management Department report.
Good afternoon, everyone. No written report this month. I shall explain myself as to why. But I do have a few tidbits of information I'd like to share. Looking back, kind of what I reported on last month, I had mentioned how we were going to partner with a couple coffee shops up in the Grand Ledge area for what we call a Stay in the Know with Your Cup of Joe campaign, coffee sleeves. We had a little bit of extra funding to kind of promote, again, texting 67283 to texting Eaton to 67283. And just to run some quick data points for you, I mean, our total opt-in starts at the beginning of last month was 19,988 opt-ins for alerts, and now we're a little over, almost to 20,200. So while I can't pinpoint the data specifically and say, I can attribute this campaign to an additional, 200 registrants over the course of a month, I'd like to think that we had some sort of hand in that, so that's kind of cool. Just to give you another, data point too, I mean, we typically say you can expect about a 10% opt-in rate in a county, throughout any county within the United States. Eaton County's approaching 19%, so that's actually pretty cool. That means we're getting the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions and take protective action. Just to give you a couple highlights too, I like to talk about how sometimes we get in front of, non-traditional emergency management public safety partners. We actually had the opportunity, myself and a couple other emergency management and finance experts got to present in front of the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association earlier this month about financial resiliency in terms of disasters and disaster cost recovery frameworks. That was a really cool experience. We've been making a lot of rounds too in the last couple of months to the various jurisdictions to have them adopt hazard mitigation plans, and it was actually kind of cool, to see some of the different treasurers again, just in another setting, right? And they're kind of setting for their annual conference. So that was a fun and unique opportunity, and hope to kind of continue those relationships for disaster cost recovery frameworks. Which also brings me to my next point. So Senate Bill 109 did pass at the end of September. We're going to get some more information on it next week, I would assume. But Senate Bill 109 basically increased the Disaster Emergency Contingency Fund. This is something that we've been talking about for quite a while. I've written quite a few letters to state elected officials on this. But instead of a minimum funding balance of $2.5 million at the state budget, maximum of $10 million, it increases the Disaster and Emergency Contingency Fund to $75 million. I strongly believe that this is a good move. I fully expect federal thresholds for public assistance to drastically increase. So if you don't know about the federal thresholds for public assistance, basically, if you have a disaster in your jurisdiction, the federal government will attach, I think right now it's $1.89 to every person within your population as a state population. So figure 10 million in your state, $1.89. Our minimum threshold that we had to meet in terms of disaster damages was 18 million, say. There was some proposals back early April, May that changed, just for Michigan's example again, put or increase us from 18 million to having to hit like a $77 million threshold. So they're putting more on the states, right? And that's why one of the things that we've been seeing coming is saying we need to increase our disaster emergency contingency fund because we think we're gonna have to rely on state funding more. So looks like we're gonna see that happen. Before, under the old rules, Eaton County was entitled to $1 million. Any jurisdiction under 25,000 was capped at $250,000. Now, under the new rules, for a county or municipality with a population under 75,000, they're at $2.5 million. For a county or municipality with a population of 75,000 or more, but less than 500,000, which is where we fall as Eaton County, $5 million. So much, or a big difference. Again, we'll get some more information next week when we have our virtual monthly meeting with all the emergency managers across the state. But building that also too into a disaster cost recovery framework that we've been working on for a while, making sure that we have clear process, procedure, roles, and responsibilities, particularly when we get an emergency or disaster declaration from the governor's office like we did back in 2023 and relied on that disaster and emergency contingency fund. Hoping to workshop that out here after the first part of the new year, maybe tabletop exercise that 6 months later, and then incorporate that into some bigger, larger, functional or full-scale exercise in the future. So that's just stuff coming. Just to briefly touch on to why you don't have a written report. So about 11:15 Sunday, as I was kind of planning on going to the grocery store, watching NFL football the rest of the day, phone rings, active shooter structure fire in Grand Blanc. They're putting together an incident management team to support the one-person emergency management department in Genesee County, as well as the Grand Blanc Township and county itself. Can you head that way? I'll be there in an hour. Got there, started putting things together. Ryan, you're gonna be the planning section chief, as long as we're able to have you. And then about 2 hours later, that said, they actually started asking the right questions, right? What does the next 24, 48, 72 hours week look like, right? And that's where conversation shifted from, a family information center, which had been built out at the Trillium Theater to gather immediate information from, survivors and victims, to a family assistance center that they wanted open at 8 a.m. Monday morning, an opportunity for victims, impacted victims, which can be direct impact from the Latter-day Saints Church to the entire community, to go and receive services, support services, anything, a big gamut of different things that may be available to people. And it was like, well, who can start putting that together? Ryan's a really connected dude. You got 18 hours. So a classic like movie, you look down at your watch, 2 o'clock shifts to 2:01. It's like, all right, let's rock and roll, right? So brought together different partners, American Red Cross, Common Ground, out of Pontiac, Genesee County Health Services, the Genesee County, the Genesis Banquet and Health Center hosted us for free, and got that going Monday morning at 8 a.m. and it's been building out ever since over the course of the week. It is set to close or at least transition back to local partners tomorrow at 8 p.m. But the last count that I had as of this afternoon, about 80 direct and indirect victims served over the course of the first 4 days. So very proud of that. A lot of legwork that's gone into it. A lot of communications and discussions, and it's kind of been my baby for the last few days, and I'd like to see it through the end tomorrow before we kind of transition that back. But I usually do my report Monday before the Public Safety Committee meeting. Was a little wrapped up in some other things, so I will get back on track next month. You have my word on that. But that's what this week has looked like for me. So happy to take any questions regarding my monthly report.
Are there any questions for? See none. Well, thank you so much for all you've done and expertise. Next, we will have the Prosecutor Office report.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. Doug Lloyd, your Eaton County Prosecutor. Just to give you an idea, since this is the start of the year and you were gracious enough to sign off on a grant that we received that is about hopefully reducing backlog, the numbers that I am going to start out with in regards to open cases are 7,891, which are up from 7,776 in the month of September or August. Just to give you an idea of what we're fighting here, we had 372 new case referrals last month. We authorized 149 of those while declining or diverting out 143. While we were trying to take the time to review those cases and all of the other open cases, we were provided notice by the courts to attend 800 hearings in criminal matters. We were required to conduct 16 mental commitment hearings. We responded to 8 early discharge from probation requests. We provided discovery 301 times across 218 cases. We returned 25 more cases for further investigation and generated 27 subpoenas across 21 cases while having 212 victim interactions. That's what my 25 employees did last month. On top of that, Brenna and Chris from my office secured a CSC conviction in a matter involving the sexual assault of a 13-year-old by her sister's boyfriend. The trial took 3 days to handle, and it took over a week of time to prep, including on the weekend and after hours. The facts, in reality, for a prosecutor were strong. It involved the victim's DNA on the defendant's penis and the defendant's DNA in the victim's vagina. As obvious as the guilt was to us when we charged the case and moved this case forward, we still spent 13 days of attorney time on that particular case in order to secure the conviction. These are the difficulties that my office face and what the struggles we are going to work with in order to attempt to bring down caseload. But those are your base numbers for that. On top of that, and I'm not sure that you all were provided notice, it was around the courthouse. Last night, at the start of, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And there was a vigil that was held and sponsored by Siren, Safe Place, and the Eaton County Prosecutor's Office, my victim advocates. And we held a candlelight vigil last night at the old courthouse. So I'm sorry that all of you missed it. I'm sorry that most of the chiefs and sheriff missed it as well, but it was a good turnout of individuals. We had a young lady who is a survivor of domestic violence, and she was able to talk about her experiences as well as the support she has received. So we will try to make sure for the commissioners at least that we do a better job of actually getting that information out to you, because I think it's important, since you represent the communities of Eaton County, that you actually get to experience all of these particular things. That's it for me, Chairman, unless there are questions.
Any questions for the prosecutor? Don't see any. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we're looking at miscellaneous. Letter A, the memorandum of understanding between Eaton County and the Eaton County Fire Training Committee about the state grant.
Good afternoon. So this is the memorandum of understanding that we had authorization last month to develop in concert with the Eaton County Fire Training Committee. This was a grant from the state. Originally was meant to be routed directly to this group, but it got routed through the legislative process to the county. But we've been able to lend technical expertise in terms of going through the process to claim the grant with the state, and then to assist with the execution of the project. We've been working closely with the Fire Training Committee, and they spoke when it was adopted at Ways, and then the full board. This has already been presented to the Fire Training Committee. They will be holding their own vote on it on October 16th, so the Thursday after the full board meeting. We're requesting this to be reviewed, approved, and this would go to the full board for authorization. We start out with just the memorandum of the county's needs and making sure everything we need to be compliant with the grant is addressed. And that also includes the appendix of the actual grant agreement with the state. So both of us will be subject to the reporting requirements and the duration and any of the procurement requirements that the state has for the project. Welcome any questions. Oh, sorry, this goes to Ways, my apologies, because it's financial.
Guys, where's this going to be located?
My understanding here in Charlotte is where it's going to be located.
Okay, kind of the east side then for the people. Correct.
Off of Payne Drive past the fairgrounds for those viewers at home. Good.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the Ways and Means. We have another option for limited public comment.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Melanie Achenbach, currently working as the Deputy Court Administrator, formerly the Community Corrections Director here in Eaton County. I wanted to bring the new Community Corrections Director in to meet you. This is Peter Klein. Peter has been working with the Eaton County Problem-Solving Courts in some capacity for the last 10 years. He has been working in the Eaton County Community Corrections Department for over 5 years now as a case manager and most recently the pretrial services specialist. I am looking forward to continuing to work with Pete as he transitions to this new role. I just wanted you all to be able to meet him.
Thank you. You have any comments, sir? Be brave.
Thank you for having me, Commissioners. I look forward to working with all of the partners that we have and also with you. And going forward, I think that our Community Corrections Department is in a really good place, and I intend to keep it that way. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Anybody else? I don't see any.